When you're golfing, I have to say, I am a terrible golfer. I can swing and hit the ball, and that's about it. As to like, oh, what direction can you hit it? Can you hit it to the left? Can you hit? I have no idea which direction it's going to go. All I know is I hit the ball, and it just, you know, more often than not, it kind of like curves over to the right. And it is so disappointing when you want it to like, you just want to hit the ball straight. You know what I mean? But you can't, something in my, the way I set up or the way I swing, it just naturally happens. I don't know how to stop it. But long story short, I am a terrible golfer. But I mean, it's cool. You know what I mean? To be out there and to play the game. I mostly like driving the golf carts. Those are really fun. So, it's pretty beneficial to everybody. And if like, it'd be kind of funny if they did like a, what's it called? It would be funny if they did it like a survival golf. You know what I mean? Where it's like you have to play the game, and if you score, really, if you do very bad at the game, you have to like, you die essentially. Like that's kind of it's, survival golf. I think it'd be kind of funny. You know what I mean? You have to swim in the pond. You know what I mean? You can, I don't know. It's kind of funny to think about it in that way. If like your life was on the line and you had to golf. If my life was on the line and they had a gun to my head and they said, hit this ball and score, like if they were just like score a perfect game in golf, I would die. I would literally die because there's no telling with this sport. It's absurd. You know what I mean? It is completely absurd. I don't even know you know what I mean, which of the putters or which one of the golf clubs to use, right? Like I just know that the big one is the one you start off with, and then the putter is the one you end with, and then everywhere in between you kind of like decide, oh, this one, no, this one, this one's fine, this one, you know what I mean? How do you know? I can't read the green, whatever that means, right? I can't look at the thing and kind of be like, oh yeah, if I hit it like this, it's gonna. No, I can't do that. I will say this though, my putting is pretty killer. I think I'm pretty good at it. I don't want to say I'm like the best, but I definitely will say that miniature golf is definitely where my calling is. You know what I mean? In any kind of like golfing setting, like if I play mini golf, you know what I mean, just putting, I could probably make a career out of it. But anyways, just learning where to start the game. So first is just like hitting the ball and trying to keep it on the fairway. For the life of me, I don't get the whole structure of it. I don't get the positions. I don't get like, this is how you hit it so that way it does X, Y, and Z. Like I don't get it, you know what I mean? And for me, I'm not the type of person to like, okay, I will do practice swings, but I like kind of just going for it for the most part, because if I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail no matter how many times I like practice swing, you know what I mean? Or like minimum, like I'll do maybe one practice swing. At the most, I'll do like probably like 3 or 4. And I guess it's one of those things where it's like, no matter what you do or no matter how many times you practice or try to like get it perfect, you still end up messing up anyways. So it's like, how do I not do that? You know what I mean? And I tried everything. I shifted my feet. I moved back and forth. I tried to figure out like, where can I get the sweet spot? And sometimes it would work, and sometimes, you know what I mean. It more often than not it wouldn't. But and I would legit the one thing I don't want my I don't want my ball to go in the sand, and yet I somehow manage to hit my ball in the sand or in the water. I hit my one of my balls into the because I had multiple golf balls to play with just in case, in case I lost one or it got into the water, and it did get into the water, and it was such a pain. It messes everything up, but fortunately the golf balls I used were pretty colorful, so it worked out in the end. And so playing golf is I don't know. I don't want to say it's it's a very skillful game. It's very much you have to be aware of the air, you have to be aware of the wind, you have to look at the direction you want the ball to go in, and then you just kind of hit the ball and let it do its business, you know what I mean? But again, there are any number of environmental factors. It's not like if you play football, right? And it's snowing outside, or if it's raining in the field or whatever, okay? You might feel some of the environmental factors in the game, right? The wind might blow the football a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right, but not too crazy where it's it ruins the game. For golf, it's high winds and rain and snow. They kind of spoil the game. They kind of ruin it. I don't want to say completely, but it depends on how much. So it's a little, you got to kind of, how can we figure it out? You know what I'm saying? But a little bit of wind, a little bit of a, you know what I mean? Of a little, of a blowing to the left or to the right or forward or backward is just as, it can have just as big of an effect as, imagine your ball is in the air and then I just smack it. Yeah, it's like shooting a basketball and then somebody coming along and just tipping it or tapping it to the left or to the right, even just a little bit. You know what I mean? And it'll miss the hoop. It'll miss everything. So you kind of have to think about that. But I want to say that as you play the game, you get better, but that's not the truth. I think you have to be pretty aware. You have to be very aware of your skill level and then play accordingly. So for me, I was terrible at the game, okay? So I knew that I had to play pretty quickly, or I should have known I was bad at it and figured out ways to speed up the game so that way I could keep on playing all 18 holes, but that way I don't slow anybody behind me. And more often than not, I would just let the person behind me play past me, because there were some people that were playing just by themselves. They were more experienced players, and it felt like, well, they should probably move on. You know what I mean? They should probably play ahead. But it gets so late in the day that it's kind of it gets so late in the day where it's we're just going to pass you up and go to the next hole and play that game rather than just play through us. They're just going to go forward to the next spot. So that was nice. That was nice of the other golfers, because it didn't feel like I was being rushed. So then I'm trying to think the first hole that you play. I don't. I think it was probably like the easiest one. It's kind of like they go in between like being a par three and a par four and back and forth, and it isn't like it's different every single time. So it's kind of hard to figure out like, oh, how many hits is it going to take me to get the golf ball to the hole for this round. And I think the first hole was like it was just a really easy one. You know what I mean? It was supposed to be easy anyways. And I remember I hit the ball and immediately you just know like, oh, I messed that up. You know what I mean? And then I'm looking at the ball in the air and I'm like, turn, like, can you just stay straight? But it just like curves to the right or to the left and you're just like, no. And then your ball is like next to a tree or like in the tall grass, just so far out of where you want it to be. It's pretty funny. It's comical the way that you fail. But there is a good feeling that you get when you succeed. And so one time I'm driving the ball. I'm like, I'm about to start. And all of a sudden, I go for it and I just swing for it. And boom, it was like everything was perfect. You know what I mean? It was like straight shot down the fairway. Was it, you know what I mean? Did I get like it wasn't like a hole in one, but it was definitely like, that's what it felt like. It felt like if the flag was just like not so far away and obviously not covered with a bunch of other stuff, I would have hit a hole in one with that shot. I really enjoyed that. I really liked it where it was just up in the air and then you see it's going to land perfectly where you need it to be. And yeah, that was just the best. You know what I mean? It's a really cool feeling and it's a cool representation of like you're making good progress, you're doing the right thing, right? You're keeping it where it's supposed to be, you know what I'm saying? As opposed to not doing that, as a, you know, messing up or not, you know, not placing the ball where it's supposed to be, you know. But you know, what are you gonna do? I also think when you're trying to, obviously the whole point is like get your golf ball into the hole and that's it, you know what I mean? But I just try to play it like one hit at a time. You know what I'm saying? This is the hit that's going to get me closer and closer to what I actually want. So when I do that first hit and it's awful, I would think about retrying it or like re-hitting it, trying to get the best hit off. But instead it's like, you know what? I messed up on that. I'm never gonna, you know what I mean? I'll hit it again and try to do better on the next one. But for right now, like, let me just keep on going. Let me play through the game and fail so that way, you know what I mean, on another hole I can succeed. You know what I'm saying? So the skill to understand or to know that like, oh, this is how you play the game or this is the correct way to do it. I don't know any of that. I don't know the correct way to play. I don't know like all of the skills or all of the like the right equipment to use, or even if there is right equipment to use, I knew none of that. All I knew is you just pick up one of the golf clubs, you swing it, you hit the ball, and it gets you closer to you try to put it into the hole. So that's the idea. And time and time again, I am met with dissatisfaction that I do not possess like whatever skill that is, whatever skill it is to like just set yourself up and hit the ball perfectly. I don't I don't get it. I mean, I could try. I've obviously practice makes perfect, but it's unlike anything else cuz it's not like I have full control of the ball in my hand. You know what I'm saying? It's not like uh it's not like basketball or football or you know what I mean, or even soccer for that matter, right? Like you have full control of the ball with your feet. You see the ball, you can kick the ball, you can move it. With the golf ball, it's like I have to hold this completely separate instrument, and then I have to like swing at the ground, and then I have to hit it up into the sky, and I have to hit it hard enough forward so that way it gets closer to the hole. And then once it gets close as possible to the hole, that's when you kind of like tap it. You put it, you know what I mean? You take another golf club and then you lightly tap it into the hole, and then that's it, right? Like there's so many steps involved. There's so many extra pieces to it. It's not as simple as like, yeah, you take the ball, you dribble it, and then you throw it into the hoop. Like, you see how simple that is? Golf is it's a funny way to pass the time because it's just the like you do so much, you know what I mean? It's so extra. And I don't know. I feel like it's like one of those things where it's like, how can we make this more complicated than it needs to be, right? Like, how come I, right? How come I can't just pick up a golf ball and throw it and try to like get it as close as possible to that hole? You know what I mean? Like, what? Where's the danger in that? You know what I mean? But obviously, that's not the game. Let me think. What else is there? I think this is also like one of the sports or like one of the things that one of the games that like you can play professionally that I'm not like totally eager. Let's be real here. I think golf is a boring sport, but playing it myself, I can see the attraction to it. I can, you know what I mean? I can understand why people enjoy it. I just think my mind is more like, I guess my mind is more simple. You know what I mean? I guess I'm not complicated enough to really respect and get the sport, the skill of it, I guess. But it's kind of funny to think that because there are way more physical and way more like challenging stuff, and I think that's like more complicated, you know what I'm saying? But everybody's different, and golfing is definitely one of those sports. It's definitely a game that requires precision and practice, hours and hours of practice to really get a, you know what I mean, to really get a handle on it. You know what I'm saying? It's not you can play soccer or basketball like when you're a little kid. I don't think golf is like that. At least I haven't seen like, I think like 7-year-olds, right? They can play soccer and basketball and baseball and like football, like flag football and stuff like that. And then like they get it pretty quick. You know what I mean? It's an easy sport to pick up. With golf, if you give like a little kid like golf clubs, he might just like swing it around and do crazy stuff. Like I've never seen like a little kid play golf except for like mini golf or like putting. You know what I mean? That's not like a thing. You wait until like maybe you grow up and you kind of learn the sport. You know what I mean? A little bit, little by little. You know what I'm saying? And little by little, they kind of like, I guess what I'm saying is that like golfing is like more of an old man's game, whereas like the fast pace, the very physical and demanding sports like basketball, they're more of like a young man's game because it's so quick. You know what I mean? And old people can play golf all the time, so it just kind of feels like that's the trade-off. That's the difference, I guess. Old people get golf so that way they can like work on their hand-eye coordination, so they can work on like seeing the golf ball and where they hit it. They can practice, get some fresh air. They get outside. They have an extra skill. You know what I mean? It's just like it feels like it's designed for people who are more laid back. You know what I mean? Not as physical, not as direct when it comes to when it comes to sports, I guess. You can drive around in the golf carts, right? I do have to say though, those golf carts are so cool. I want, you know what I mean? Like after you drive in one of those, you're kind of like, dang, I really want one of these all the time. I just to like drive around to the neighborhood or like be on the sidewalk, you know what I mean? Maybe like you walk your dog or race your dog while you're driving the golf cart, you know what I mean? Like that would be kind of fun. Probably not, you know what I mean, safe for like the whole community, but it definitely does feel like it's kind of like a funny gimmick to have around the house or to use on the side. I think that's pretty funny. Let me see what else is there. I wonder if like professional golfers, right? When do you obviously there's like a system in place for like tournaments and stuff. Like if you can play in a tournament and you do very well in it, that means that you're a good golfer. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know what's the ranking of it, right? Like when it comes to basketball, there's like college and then there's the professionals. But for golf, they had a golf course when I was in college. You could like go to there was like a separate golf course you would go to. They would teach you how to play the game, and then that was the bit. That was the whole idea. That was the whole situation that they were doing, is like they were teaching you how to play the game, and then you would come back to college or you come back to class at the school. So I don't know if the campus itself had a golf course, so they used another golf course that was nearby. You go there for practice or whatever, and then you come back to your classes, and you have to kind of figure out the I don't know, your driving situation. So I kind of avoided that because, well, I wasn't really interested in golfing in the first place, but I guess would also be a hassle to kind of be out there all day. But anyways, my point being is that like if you're a part of a golf team in college, is there like a direct path to like professional golfing, or do you have to like play a bunch of tournaments and win, and then you can like is there a professional golf signing the same way that there's like a football or basketball signing? Because as far as I can tell, golfing's like it's not a team sport. I mean, I guess it could be, but I've never seen that. It's mostly like solo players, right? So how do you convince like the professional golfing league or whatever, the professional, I think it's the golf association, how do you convince them that like, oh yeah, you should definitely have me be a part of your program? You know what I mean? I don't understand that. The inner workings of it, you know what I'm saying? It's, again, the other sports just seem a lot more direct. Although, I guess this is just basically the same concept, huh? You get good at the game, and then, I don't know, you probably don't have to play in college, but definitely doesn't hurt your chances to be a part of like a team like that. Probably improves your game too, and you could probably. I'm not saying you have to be a part of like. You don't have to make golfing like your full-on career. You could study something else. You know what I mean? But I don't see why not. It also makes me wonder why sports themselves aren't. There's like. You should definitely be able to get like a degree in golfing at like college, you know what I mean? Like sports degrees, as opposed to like, rather than just playing the sport, right? Like if you're a football player in college, you should definitely be able to like get a degree in football. You should be able to get a degree. Like if you play basketball in college and then they make you study something else. Like, oh, you can get your degree in, I don't know. Let's say they're like, you can get your degree as a nurse. You could become a nurse, right? Basketball player is like, I want to focus on like the medical field. How do I become a nurse? Well, this is the steps that you would have to take to get your medical degree or to get your nursing license, whatever. So he's like, okay, yeah, I'd love to try that. How do I do it? And then they set him up. But at the same time, they're playing basketball and becoming a nurse, but they'll only get the nursing degree. And I'm like, obviously the you're playing basketball in college, so that way you'll get signed to the professional, to the NBA. They'll sign you, and that's your career. But you should definitely, by the end of your college years, or like you get your degree, you should definitely be able to be like, oh yeah, by the way, we're also going to give you a degree in basketball. You know what I mean? You know how to play the sport. You know how to play the sport. You know the business aspect to it. We can teach you it. We can teach you the inner workings of like, just basically like all of the layers of the college basketball or the professional basketball league, like all of that stuff it's a learning experience, you know what I mean? And they should definitely award you a certificate or like some sort of a degree that says, hey, you're a smart person. This is a sport that you're very knowledgeable in. Here's a degree in football. And also, if you're not a player for, like, let's say, like, I'm not LeBron James. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be LeBron James, but I still love football. I still love basketball. My bad. Football was the first sport that came to my head, but I was literally talking about LeBron James. Anyways, I still really like basketball, you know? Is there any way I can be a part of the sport but not be a player? You know what I mean? What if I want to be a coach for basketball? What if I want to be I guess being like a sports commentator is more of like a public speaking and like a broadcasting degree. So there's that lane for it, which is very appealing and very cool. But I'm thinking of like, I want to be a part of the sport. You know what I mean? How do they work with merchandise? I guess there are just other fields for it, huh? But I don't know. Maybe there should be a way to like specifically like how can I take a football degree class, a football degree course that teaches, or a basketball degree class or a basketball degree course that teaches you all of the little inner workings of it. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to learn about basketball merchandising, you take the basketball class, right? And they'll teach you like, this is how we market a player, or this is how we like franchise a player or make them like part of the team, right? This is how we deal with contracts and stuff like that. Like just basically teaching the sport and how to use it. But I guess not everybody can do that. And it also gives away like their secrets or whatnot. So it's probably not as appealing to do stuff like that. But you know what I'm saying? So all of that is just to say that like for golfing, I feel like there's definitely a degree somewhere, just like any other sport. You know what I mean? You know how to play the game well, and maybe you want to be a golf instructor. You know what I mean? They should be able to teach you how to play and do stuff like that. So I don't know. It's kind of weird to think about it in that way, but I make sense there. If not, I'll probably come back and think another time. But when you're golfing, just hit the ball and have fun, right? Who cares? Just go out there and swing and hit. And if you mess up, just drop a ball in the fairway and try again. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's the cool way to do it. You know what I mean? Get a bucket of golf balls and then just like swing and mess up, until you finally get like in a groove where you're like, okay, this is how I can hit the ball, or this is how I mess up and I hit it differently, or I move differently, or it curves to the left, it curves to the right. How can I get it straight down the line? You know what I mean? So you get like a bunch of golf balls, you mess up, and you just mess up until you get one that's like great for you, and then you just go out there and do it. Although it does create a mess of golf balls doing that. So it's not really allowed to do that, but that's kind of like my ideal version of it, is like, oh, I might mess up at it, so let me get a bunch of golf balls and practice over and over and over again. That's what the driving range is for, I know, but my point is that like you should be able to play the full game like that. You know what I mean? Take all of those golf balls and mess up and try over and over and over again, just to get the experience of it, just to play the game and not be worried about like, where'd the ball go? Where is the ball? It's like, it's the one in the fairway that you hit perfectly. What about the other ones? Don't worry about the other ones. They're gone. You know what I mean? You don't have to think about it. So yeah. Do I think golfing is a sport that I can definitely play the game. I don't dislike golfing. I just prefer other games to it. Rather than that one. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So, golfing's cool. You know what I mean? I like it. It's all right. It's all right with me. So, if you have the chance, if you have the opportunity, I think everybody should try a little bit of each sport, you know what I mean? No matter what. Even if it's just putting, like miniature golf, like people love that, you know what I mean? That's fun. So try that. Or go to a driving range and hit a bunch of balls if you can, you know what I mean? Just go out there and try it. So when you're golfing, have fun, swing the ball, make mistakes, and practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you.